Hi team. So I know a lot of you were out of town on Memorial Day weekend and were not able to join us for the training. So I wanted to make it available to everybody. So I'm just going to go over what we went over on Sunday. So I wanted to start by sharing really a sobering statistic. Some of you have heard this before, but studies show that 55 to 65% of kids who are church kids will walk away from their faith after they go to college. I don't want to start out on a really, sad note, but at the same time, this is kind of what's going on in our world and our culture right now. And the reason that this is happening is that kids have this fragile, brittle, broken, or borrowed faith. They don't have a faith of their own. They have their parents' faith or their grandparents' faith. Their faith hasn't been tried or tested, so then when they go to college, they just kind of lose their faith. And so what hit me is that basically 50% or more of what we're doing basically is it's not sticking with the kids when they grow up and they're able to make decisions on their own. And so a strategy or an answer to this problem is the lead small strategy. And basically lead small is investing strategically in the lives of a few over time so that we can help the kids build an authentic faith. So that's basically lead small. So we're investing in a few, not in the multitude, the masses, but really, really impacting and influencing the few. And that's why small groups are so important. That's why we put so much emphasis on you as a small group leader. And I want to stop right here and say that whether you are leading a small group of kids in elementary, at the beginning and end of service, or whether you're in a classroom with the 3-year-olds in Kid Point Junior, you are a small group leader. I'm not sure if everybody knows that, but that's what you do. That's your title. You're a small group leader. And so what you do is so important because you're able to pour into this small group of kids so that they can grow to have an authentic faith. So lead small is not new for us. It's something that we've been doing. It's a strategy that we have been trying to implement for since I've been here. But I do want to kind of overview this, the lead small strategy for everybody, just because I know you've heard it before, or maybe some of you are new, or even if you have heard it before, vision leaks, and I get that. So we all need reminders every once in a while. So I want to go through the 5 principles of lead small. So the first principle is be present. The first thing that we need to do is be present. We need to connect the kids' faith, the kids in your group. I want you to see their little faces as we talk, the kids that are in your group. We need to connect their faith to a community. And there's 3 ways that we can do this to be present. First thing we have to do is we have to show up predictably. When you're scheduled, please be there and be on time. Obviously, if you're sick or there's an emergency, that's one thing. But if you are scheduled, please make plans to be here, to be with your group of kids. It makes a difference. And be on time. So we ask that all of our leaders are here 30 minutes prior to the start of the service. And there's a reason for that. It's not because we want you just to be standing around, but we want you to be here ready. You have looked through your supply bin. You know what's happening. You are ready for the kids and you are waiting for them. I love in Kid Point Junior when you guys stand at the door and are waiting for those kids to get there. It makes a difference to the parents and to the kids when they see your face standing in the doorway, waiting for them. It just looks like we are expecting them and we can't wait to see them. So be present, and the first way to do that is to show up predictably. Be here when you're scheduled and be on time. The second way that we need to be present is we need to show up mentally. So those emails that Pam and I send you, please look those over, read through the activities, familiarize yourself with those so that you aren't, looking at your script. It's not in front of your face, and you're not looking like this to the kids, but you are ready. I don't even memorize it all, so you don't have to memorize everything, but you basically have a gist of what the lesson is and what your activities are so that you're mentally there with the kids. And then the other thing is, please put your phones away. Obviously, you can have those, in your back pocket on vibrate or whatever, because you have kids in another classroom and have to be able to be reached by another leader, if they need you. But please keep those in your pockets. Keep them out of your hands so that you can be there mentally with your kids. You can show up mentally. And the third thing under being present, the third way that we need to be present with the group of kids that we're responsible for, is to show up randomly. And this one's a little bit trickier because it needs to happen outside of church. So it needs to be in a way that they're not expecting. So show up randomly in their lives. Maybe you write them a card. Maybe if you know their parents, you send their parents a text. Hey, I'm thinking about Johnny today. Let him know that I'm still praying for his pet cat that we prayed for on Sunday, okay? Or even go to a baseball game, one of your few. If you know that they have, a sport that they're into, talk to their parents. Ask, if they would mind if you showed up and cheered them on at their games. So that one's a little bit more tricky because it happens outside of church, but that is going to make such a big impact. So showing up at a baseball game is like, having 3 or 4 group time with them, because you just get so much more out of it. They get so much more out of that. So show up, be present, show up predictably, show up mentally, and show up randomly. The second principle under Lead Small is that we need to create a safe place. We need to create a place where the kids in our groups can be themselves. Okay, they can ask the questions that they want to ask, the questions that they're dealing with. Create a place where they know you, they're comfortable with you, they're comfortable with the other kids in your group. So you have to lead the group. They're not taking over. Somebody's not picking on another kid or making fun of their prayer requests. You're leading the group and you have control of the group, and you're creating a safe place and where they can feel comfortable coming out of their shell, asking questions, and they have that consistency with you because they know you. So if you have the handout, which I forgot to mention in the beginning, but there is a handout that goes along with this, and I've kind of asked you questions under each one of these principles, and how you can make this practical in your group. So if you'll look at your handout, and I'll email all this to you guys, under Be Present, the question is, how can I do a better job of being present in the life of my few? So once you fill that out, how can you do that? What can you do? Is there something that we can help you? Is there a resource that we can give you that will help you be present? Do we need to adjust the schedule? Whatever it is, so that you can be present and make the most out of your group time. And then the second one under Create a Safe Place is, what can I do to make sure my room and my group is safe, fun, and welcoming? And again, if you have some great ideas here, please send those to me, and I would love to look through those. So what can you do to make sure it's safe for their kids, it's fun, and it's welcoming? Even the new kid feels like they're a part. How can you do that for your group? The third principle under Lead Small is partner with parents. Okay, so we need to be partnering with them. We need to nurture an everyday faith for our kids, and the best way, one of the great ways we can do that is by partnering with parents, because they have so much more time with their kids. So if we can get them talking about what we talked about on Sunday, if we can give them resources and things to help them continue that conversation at home with their kids, that's going to impact them even more. So partner with parents. They have more influence. So those take homes, that's why we send those home with the parents, so that they can, they know what their kids are learning. There's even conversation starters for the parents to continue that conversation at home. And I get that some of those end up in the garbage, and I see them around the church on Monday. I do, but I do know that there are a handful of parents that use those. And so if only 2 parents are using these take home papers, it's still worth it, okay? And we do need a better job of selling those to the parents. But I do think it's absolutely worth it that we get those take homes in the parents' hands. Another thing that we can do better, we're not doing great at, but social media is a great way to help the parents continue those conversations and know what their kids are learning. And then another thing that we can do, and we can all do better, is leverage that time at drop off and pick up. When those parents are dropping their kids off and they're picking them up, that is a time where we can have, 30 seconds to talk to that parent, find out their name, talk to them about what their child learned. Have something that you can say that's good about the child. That is a moment where you can, say, we're working on this, or this was our challenge today, but we're working on it. Next week's going to be better, right? And I always like to leave it on a positive note with the child. So next week's going to be better. I believe it. And so, anyways, that's a great time. Drop off and pick up is a great time to partner with parents. We also have the parent resource wall in the check-in area, so that's a great place for parents to get books where they or look through books and then figure out which books that they want to order. It is display only, but find books that they want to read with their child, or read so that they can be maybe a better parent, or help nurture that everyday faith that we want them to have. So if anybody asks, the Parent Resource Center is in the check-in area. There are books for every single age, every single year, and helping the parents understand their 3-year-old, understand their 4th grader, and the parents can read through those. There are books on healthy sexuality, and that starts all the way as young as 2 years old, on talking about their body parts. I get parents asking me all the time, how do I talk to my kids about this? And these books are great. There are so many great resources there. So please talk that up to the parents. If you ever have questions, say, have you looked in the Resource Center yet? And even if you want to familiarize yourself with the books that are there, so that you can be a resource to these parents, okay? Because they're looking to you. I mean, I know that, there's only one of me and one of Pam, and so you can be that hands-on, you can be that person that the parents look to, and you can be a resource to them. The 4th principle under Lead Small is make it personal. So inspire their faith by your example. So be real with them, right? Sometimes kids, especially the older ones, they ask us real questions that we're like, man, I wasn't ready for that. Or man, I don't have an answer for that. And that's okay. Like, I feel like we can be real with them and say, you know what, I'm not sure. I don't really know what the answer to that is, but let's find out together, right? So, because if we just pretend like we have all the answers, kids can sense that. They can smell the fakeness sometimes. And so let's be real with them. And then share stories, share age appropriate stories that you have. Man, when I was 5 years old, this is what happened to me, or whatever. And every time when I'm in large group, I'm like, man, you know what, when I was 7 years old. And as soon as I say that, everybody just gets real quiet and they're ready to listen. I don't know what it is. It's not even normally a super great story, but just because they're like, whoa, you were 7? Like, man, I can't believe Pastor Brittany was ever 7. So they get into it when we're real with them and we share our own experiences with them that are age appropriate. And the other thing that we need to do when we're making it personal is to make sure that we are setting a good example, for instance, with our social media account and things like that we are living a life that's an example, because parents are looking to you and they're looking at your life because you are pouring into their child. They're dropping their precious child off with you. So let's take that as an honor, and let's realize the weight of that, and the responsibility that we have to set an example for the children and for the parents in the way that we live our lives and the things that we share, especially on social media. The 5th principle is move them out. So this is basically talking about transitions. Engage their faith in a bigger story. So that's why it's so important that we do transitions well, from mini to junior to elementary, even from to resonate, even from the 1st grade group to the 2nd grade group. So how can we be better at that? How can we move them out? So this is, I think there's a lot of things that we could do better here. So if you have some great ideas, let us know. But the question on your handout is, what can we do better as kids make transitions from one ministry or group to another? And it says share these ideas on the survey that Brittany sends out. So I send you, I try it about once a month, I send the Survey Monkey link, and anytime you have ideas, we love to hear them. So if you do have an idea and you haven't gotten an email for a while, go back through. It's the same link every time I send that email. I'm basically sending you the same email every time I send that, just as a reminder to let me know if you have ideas. But you can go back and use an old link, so you can share these ideas, especially with this, because I think we can do a better job. So if you have ideas of how we can transition a little bit better, let me know. Then I want to move to kind of what we learned at the Orange Conference. Now, if you're not exactly sure what orange is, let me explain that for just a second. Orange is a strategy. So orange, we know, is a color that comes from red and yellow. And so the color red is represented by the love of the home. So we have red, and then we have yellow, which represents the light of the church. And so we want to come together. We want to bring the church and home together, and that's the orange strategy, basically. So how we can, as a church, partner with parents, and we can make sure that it's an everyday faith, basically. So Orange is also the publisher of all the curriculum that we use, First Look, and 252 Basics. So all the curriculum that we put out, that we give you, we've edited a little bit, and then it all originally comes from Orange. All the books in the Parent Resource Center, that's from Orange as well. They're all published by Orange. So every year Orange does a big conference. It's like 10,000 people in Atlanta that from all over the world, all of different countries. There's people from Australia, and it was crazy. Every year, about 10,000 people that come together because they have a heart for the next generation. It's a family ministry conference. So there are senior pastors there, there's kids pastors, there's youth pastors, there's volunteers, and so we try to take a small group every year, and we took, I think, 6 this year, and then plus me and Pam, and so we continue to do that, and we want to continue doing that for our team. So if you haven't got an invitation yet, we are going to invite you. We just can only take a handful every year. So we do want to get everybody, give everybody a chance, an opportunity to go to this conference. So it's awesome. So this year, the theme was It's Personal, because it is personal. And so basically they were talking about how can we make it about these kids? How can we make it personal, not only for us as leaders, but how can we make it personal for these children as well, and build that community? So there were 5 questions that they asked us, and basically this was the theme through every breakout, every large group session that we did. And it's 5 questions kids are asking, but not really asking their small group leader. So you as a small group leader, the kids in your group are asking these questions to you. And they use the story of Zacchaeus to kind of show how Jesus interacted with Zacchaeus, and how we can use that as an example of how we can interact with the kids in our group. So if you don't know the story of Zacchaeus, I think most of you do, but Zacchaeus was a wee little man. We know that song, right? But basically he was a bad guy. He was a tax collector and nobody liked him. He was kind of stealing from the people. Everybody hated him. Well, Jesus was coming by with this huge crowd, and Zacchaeus wanted to see Jesus, so he climbs in a tree so that he can see over the crowd. And Jesus is walking by, and there's tons of people around, and he stops and he looks at Zacchaeus. He calls him by name, and he's like, I'm going to your house. Out of all these other people, basically, I'm going to the bad guy's house, okay? So let's talk about these 5 questions that your kids in your group are asking you. So I want you to think of their little faces, and think of them, that they're asking you these questions without having the words to ask these questions to you. So the first question is, do you know my name? And this is tough for those of us who have trouble remembering names. But do you know my name? So Jesus called Zacchaeus by name and showed him honor. So Zacchaeus, like, me? You're talking to me? Like, you know my name? It was just that alone was a big deal for Zacchaeus. So we need to learn the kids' names in our group. And I get that some of them come and go and they're not super regular. We can use some practical tips and some ways that we can come to know their names. So one thing I like to do is say it back to them. So, hey Johnny, I'm so glad you're here, Johnny. Hey everybody, this is Johnny. Everybody say, hey Johnny. Johnny, come sit over here next to me. Johnny, do you want to start the conversation? So I continue saying his name, and it helps me, it's sticking to my brain a little bit. The other thing we can do is write it down. So if you're a visual person, write it down, jot it down on your notebook or your curriculum page, whatever, so that you can see it and remember their name. Another cool thing that you can do is use the Lead Small app. So there is an app called Lead Small, and it's got all kinds of cool resources on there. But one of the things that's cool is that you can add kids to your group. You can almost make your own little roster, and you can put their names there, and then you can take a picture of them and put their name with their face. So you're connecting their name to their face. And so then that way you can scroll through, you can pray for those names, and you can see their face as you're praying for them, and that is going to help you so much learn their name. Now I'm going to stop right here and say something about policy. We do not take pictures of kids and then put them on social media. We cannot do that. It is a huge liability issue. We have a lot of foster kids that we get to serve and we get to love on, and so we absolutely cannot take pictures of any children and put them on social media. But you can take a picture of them and keep it on your phone for your own record and your own helping you remember their name. And the other thing that you can do to help you remember their name is to pray for their names. So write their names down, take that piece of paper home with you, or put it on the Lead Small app, and then go through their names and pray for them by name. Another awesome thing that someone shared at the training was that they pray for them as they go around the group. So they pray for them right there. They pray for them by name. And so that's awesome too. Just take those moments and pray for them by name. Have them wear their sticker on the front, as long as they're not going to pull them off and stick them somewhere else, so that you can see their names. The second question that your kids are asking you, the kids in your group, is, do you know what matters to me? Do you know what matters to me? So Jesus stopped, he tuned out the crowd, and he looked Zacchaeus in the eye, and he listened to him. So that's huge. So we need to get to know the kids, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this one, because I know this is tricky, but we need to get to know the kids in our groups. What do they like? What do they dislike? We need to leverage free time. Now, I'm the worst at this, but a lot of times we stand around, and I love hanging out with you guys, and I love talking to you guys. So a lot of times I'm sitting there talking to you instead of to the kids or the parents. But if we can leverage free time, and we can take that time to talk to a kid, ask them what they like. Look at their, oh, I see you're wearing a soccer jersey. Do you like soccer? Do you have a game after church today? Oh wow, do you like shooting hoops? You're so great at climbing that rock wall, right? So we take time with them, get to know them, get to know what they like. The fact that you are listening to them talk about their pet turtle, that means the world to them. So figure out what they like, what matters to them. Search for something to engage them. So are they wearing a Bulldogs hat? Hey, do you like the Bulldogs? Yeah, all right. You see that they constantly have their shoe untied. Okay, can I help you? Can I help you learn to tie your shoe? And just go over that with them. You might not be the one that teaches them, but you can spend a couple minutes with them. You can ask their previous small group leader, hey, tell me about Johnny. What does he like? What does he dislike? Have you figured out things that worked with him to help him stay engaged? Ask their parents, what should I know about him? Is there something he really likes? Is there some kind of candy that he likes? Just get to know them. Find ways to get to know them. And then engage what interests them to get to know what matters to them. So the things that they love. So during free time, play with them. Actually get involved. Play with them. Worship with them. During large group, get crazy with them. Do the motions with them. If they're not doing the motions, grab their hands and make them do the motions, and be silly with them. Play with them. Laugh with them. Make memories with them. In large group, this is another kind of practical thing that we need to start doing. Sit with them. So in elementary, I love when you guys sit among them, and then that way you can help keep them engaged. You can shush them if needed, and then you can answer questions if they have a question. Sit among them during large groups. Same with Kid Point Junior. Sit on a spot. If you're able to get on the floor with the kids, get on the floor with them. Maybe you whisper an answer to a 3-year-old who otherwise would never know the answer to the large group question that the large group leader is asking. So play with them. Let's stop being old, okay? Let's stop being old. Let's laugh with them and make memories with them. Don't be too busy being an adult that you miss an opportunity to get to know one of the kids in your group. build that relationship with them, and then they're going to start being comfortable sharing, and they'll come out of their shell once we build that relationship. But the relationship has to come first. So first they have to know that you care, and then they're going to care what you think and what you're trying to tell them. And the third question that they're asking you is, do you know where I live? Do you know where I live? So good thing we've got Planning Center. They checked in, so we have their address, but it's more than just their address. So Jesus said, he told Zacchaeus he was going to his house. And when he did that, he showed empathy. So he wanted to put himself in Zacchaeus' shoes. And we should try to do that with the kids in our group. So let's try to learn and know what's going on in their world outside of the church walls. Where do they live physically, socially, digitally, culturally, emotionally? So we need to start putting ourselves in their shoes and try to figure out a little bit about who they are. And the fourth question that the kids in your group are asking you is, do you know what I've done? So Jesus ate with Zacchaeus. He knew what he did. He knew he was a bad guy, tax collector guy, that in people's eyes, he was a bad dude. But he ate with him. He spent time with him. So some of the kids in your group have been through stuff that would just make us cringe. They've been through abuse. They've been through tragedy. Are you the one that they will open up to? Are you the right one to hear them? Are you the right one to listen to them? So to stop right there and kind of talk about policy for just a second, if a child shares with you something where either they're hurting themselves, they're being hurt, or they are hurting someone else, that's when you need to let me or Pam or a service coordinator know, and they'll let us know, because we are all mandated reporters. I don't know if you knew that, but by the way, you are a mandated reporter because you work with kids. And so what our policy is if you have a concern, then you need to let me or Pam know, and then our staff will do the reporting. So the burden of reporting is not on you. You can let us know, and then we will do the reporting. So it kind of takes a little bit of pressure off of you, but you're still technically a mandated reporter. So if you have some suspicion that a child's being hurt or abused, or hurting somebody else, hurting themselves, that's when you need to let us know. So we will do the reporting for you. But do you know what I've done? Do you know where I live? Basically what I'm going through. And then number 5, do you know what I can do? The kids in your group are asking you, do you know what I can do? Jesus said to Zacchaeus, salvation has come to this house. Now in that moment, Zacchaeus hadn't changed his whole life. His heart might have changed because he'd been with Jesus. But at that point, he hadn't changed his whole life yet. But Jesus was believing in him, that salvation was coming to this house, had come to this house. He was showing him that I believe in you. I believe that you can be saved. And so that's what we need to do for the kids in our group as well. Our kids have big dreams. They need someone to believe in them. They need someone to show them that they are worth believing in. So we need to do 3 things. We need to help the kids in our group believe 3 things. 1, that I can do good. I can do good. So let them know when they do good. So I know that a lot of times, especially the kids that are a little bit more challenging, a lot of times we're like, shh, sit down, stop doing that. No, we're kind of giving them a lot of negative. But when you look for something to tell them that they did good, wow, you did a great job shooting hoops today. You are really great at that. Wow, you're a great climber. You climbed that rock wall so well. Or in the 3-year-old class, man, you built that tower so tall. Great job. Look for something where you can tell them that they did a good job. The second thing that we need to help the kids believe in our group is that they can love somebody. Help them believe I can love somebody, that I'm worth being loved and that I can love. And the third thing that we need to help a kid believe is that I can change. Help them believe that they can change. Now, our job is not to try to change a kid. Our job is not to try to change anybody. But that's God's job, right? Our job is to redirect and to keep pouring love. So redirect their behavior, try to get them focused on something else, and then keep pouring that love on and let God do the rest, basically. So help them believe that they can change. And I have had conversations with kids, some really challenging kids who really did respond well to this. And I was like, you know what? You are not a bully. I don't believe that about you. You're not a bully. You are a good kid. I see that in you. Listen, can you, for the rest of the day, can you show me how good you can be? And so just believing in them, telling them, I believe in you. You are good. Speaking life over them can make a difference, a huge difference in the kids in our group. So to kind of wrap this all up and then go over a couple housekeeping things, I wanted to leave you with a statement. The kids in our ministry are going through things that would shock us, unfortunately. They need to see someone every week who will love them and who will be Jesus to them. The kids in your group need you to love them and to be Jesus to them, because who knows what they're going through at home. So I just want to leave you with that, and then I want to go over just two little kind of housekeeping things to continue this. It's personal and making sure that we are being personal with every single kid in our group and loving each one personally. What I want to do is missed you postcards. So I was doing this a little bit and then I just haven't been super consistent with it. But if there's a kid in your group that you haven't seen in a while, let me or Pam know, because we want to send them a missed you postcard. Now, what sometimes happen is, they're with Dad every other week, and there was a fifth Sunday, and it got the schedule messed up, and so now they're only there on the second and fourth Sundays, and so you don't see them. They're here every other week. So I can check that in Planning Center and then decide, okay, yes, we need to send them a missed you postcard, or no, they've been here but just hasn't been on the weeks that you were scheduled. So let me know, because we want to send them. We want to make sure that no one's falling through the cracks, that we let these kids know that we've been missing them in Kid Point. And the other cool thing that we're going to get better at is rosters. I know Pam has probably been doing a much better job of this than I have in elementary, but we're going to give you rosters, and the rosters will have it will have the kids that have been consistently in your group. So I think the parameters that I put in was they've come at least twice in the past 3 months. So maybe they're not super regular, but if they're coming that often, I think that's when we need to care for them. It will have their birthday, their address if you want to send them a birthday card, their parents' name and number, so that you can be resourced in really getting to know the kids in your group. So those will be in your buckets, so that you can have those and see the kids that are in your group, and I'll update those once a month. Okay. So if there's a new kid that came the first time and you want to add them, that's fine too. If they came just once, we might not need to follow up with them quite as much because they might have just been visiting. But if they've been there a couple of times and aren't on your roster, yes, definitely fill those out or add those in. The other thing I want to talk about is service coordinators, because I feel like some of you might not know exactly what the service coordinator's jobs or role is, but their role is to serve the team, to jump in and help in a classroom when that's needed. If you need some extra hands, grab that walkie and they're waiting to help you. If you need help with the bathroom runs, or if they can be runners, like I didn't have enough crayons, or this was missing out of my supply bin, pick up those walkies, especially for junior. Basically, we don't really have a service coordinator in elementary, so I'm your service coordinator, so call me if you need me, but I'll be there. But for the service coordinators, they are serving both mini and junior, so I will say give them a little bit of grace. If you call them and they don't come super quickly, it might be because they were in another classroom, helping with on the other hallway. So, but they are there to serve you. So call them, utilize them. They're there to help out in whatever way you may need. So I do want to pray with you guys before I turn this thing off and send this out to everybody. So I just want to pray for you and your families and our team. Dear God, I love you, and I thank you so much for our amazing team, for their service. God, I thank you that not just everybody can do what they do. And so I just pray that you bless them for their service, bless their families for their service. God, I just pray that you help all of this sink in. God, give us creative ideas of how we can serve you and these kids and these families even better. God, help us to figure out new ways and new ideas, things that we can do to be the best that we can be. I pray that you help all of this to sink into our hearts, God, and help us to just do our absolute best. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks, guys.